Hi, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs, and this is Canon's EOS 90D, an upper mid-range DSLR with a 32.5 megapixel APS-C sensor, dual pixel autofocus for live view and movies, 45-point autofocus through the viewfinder, 10 frames per second shooting, uncropped 4K video at 25 or 30p, and a fully articulated touchscreen. Phew! The successor to the popular EOS 80D will cost you $1,200 for the body alone, and with improved video, faster bursts, and now even an AF joystick, makes you wonder if we'll ever see a 7D Mark III. I had a chance to briefly try out the EOS 90D at an official Canon press event, and in this video I'll share and demonstrate the highlights. Now, this is my first looks preview video, and as always I'll follow it up with my final, much more detailed review when I've fully tested the camera, and when that one's ready you'll see a link to it here. The headline feature of the 90D, along with the M6 Mark II mirrorless launched alongside it, is the debut of the highest resolution APS-C sensor to date, sporting 32.5 megapixels. This comfortably beats the 24 megapixel average for APS-C and the 26 of Fujifilm's latest generation. Canon unsurprisingly continues to neglect built-in stabilisation on either of its two new bodies, although to be fair it's mostly only on Micro Four Thirds mirrorless cameras at this price point or lower. As for lenses, the 90D can use any EFS or EF lens without adapters, and due to the sensor size reduces the field of view by 1.6 times. The new sensor captures images with 6960 by 4640 pixels compared to 6000 by 4000 on the earlier 24 megapixel models. This lets you print 3 inches wider at 300 dpi and gives you more latitude for cropping too, although the finer pixel pitch places greater demands on lenses and may also see increased noise levels, especially at higher ISOs. I'll test all of this in my final review. The 90D body, here fitted with the EFS 18-135mm zoom, will look familiar to owners of earlier double-digit EOS DSLRs. There's the same mode dial on the left hand side with a chunky power switch, and the LCD display on the upper right side, and in your hands it feels essentially the same. Certainly Canon's not improved the weather sealing either. Round the back though, 80D owners will notice a new control sandwiched between the rear thumb wheel and the live view collar switch. The very welcome addition of an AF joystick, in fact a first for double-digit Canon EOS DSLRs and a feature previously reserved for higher-end bodies like the 7D series. I'm pleased to find it here. As a DSLR, you can compose with the optical viewfinder and enjoy 100% coverage with long battery life up to 1300 shots. The 90D inherits the same 45-point all-cross-type autofocus system as its predecessor when composing through the viewfinder, along with its various autofocus area options, although it now works alongside a new metering sensor to deliver face detection for exposure as well as focus, so long as the face of course falls within the autofocus array. When shooting through the viewfinder, the 90D offers bursts up to 10 frames per second with continuous autofocus, a decent boost over the 7 frames per second of the 80D, and actually matching the speed of the 7D Mark II, allowing it to be considered more seriously for sports, action and wildlife photography. Like the 80D before it, the 90D keeps the side-hinged, fully articulated screen, beloved of anyone who shoots at high or low angles in either the landscape or portrait orientations, as well as flipping forward to face you for vlogging without blocking accessories mounted on the hot shoe. Sure, it's an old feature, but one that's found on fewer and fewer cameras these days, so I'm pleased Canon stuck with it. Interestingly, it also makes the 90D more desirable for serious vlogging and filmmaking than the M6 Mark II with its vertically tilting screen. Canon's touch features remain unchanged, but are still worth mentioning when rivals like Sony continue to underuse the facility. As such, you can tap your way through the quick and main menu systems, as well as swiping and playback, although you can of course use the physical controls if preferred. When shooting with the screen in live view, the 90D uses Canon's latest dual pixel CMOS AF for quick and confident refocusing, now supporting face and eye detection in continuous servo AF. The top burst speed on the 90D in live view is 11 frames per second with fixed focus or 7 frames per second with servo AF. On the left side you'll find all the ports behind several flaps. Interestingly, Canon's chosen to stick with micro USB rather than upgrade to USB-C here, and as you might expect you can't charge the 90D internally over USB. There's also mini HDMI, a port for a cabled remote, and 3.5mm jacks for both microphones and headphones, again cementing its position as a decent camera for video. Note the M6 Mark II also has a microphone input but no headphone jack, although that model can at least be charged over its USB-C port. Open the flap on the grip side and you'll find a single SD memory card slot. Yep, in probably the biggest disappointment on the 90D, Canon's continued to resist fitting twin card slots to maintain the differentiation with its single-digit Pro bodies. It's not surprising though, is it? The 90D is powered by the LP E6N battery pack, which claims up to 1300 shots when shooting through the optical viewfinder. Switch to live view and this will of course reduce considerably, but the ability for optical viewfinders to squeeze out long battery life remains a key benefit DSLRs have over mirrorless cameras. The 90D can film 4K video at 25 or 30p, both uncropped and using the full sensor width, a joint first for Canon's interchangeable lens cameras, and also supporting continuous autofocus with dual pixel CMOS AF. Uncropped 4K with decent autofocus is a huge upgrade over the earlier 80D, not to mention many of Canon's other cameras, and I look forward to seeing how the quality and focusing compares to rivals. You can also film uncropped 1080 up to 60p with autofocus, or in a high-speed mode at 100 or 120p, although unlike Sony, this incurs a crop and loses both sound and autofocus. Note, like other recent Canon cameras, there's no video at 24p in any resolution and still no satisfactory explanation as to where it's gone. I wonder if it's a limitation with Digicate. Just as a taster, here's a quick 4K clip I filmed with the EOS M6 Mark II launched alongside the 90D, which shares the same sensor and video quality. You can also see a vlogging example in my M6 Mark II video, although I will of course be testing both it and the 90D fully for my final review, so look out for them. The EOS 90D extends what we can expect from a mid-range Canon DSLR, taking the body, 45-point viewfinder autofocus and flip screen of the popular 80D, upgrading the sensor resolution to 32.5 megapixels, offering uncropped 4K video at 25 or 30p, fast burst shooting at 10 frames per second to match the 7D Mark II, and throwing in an AF joystick for good measure. As such, there's upgrades whether you shoot still photos, film video, or like most 80D owners, do both. Indeed, the increase in speed and presence of an AF joystick allows the 90D to approach the 7D Mark II and become much more appealing for sports and wildlife shooters, although Canon's not gone as far as to improve the weather sealing or fit 2 memory card slots. Like other recent Canon cameras, there's also no sign of 24p video anymore, although with microphone and headphone jacks, a flip screen and uncropped 4K with dual pixel AF, the 90D arguably becomes Canon's best mid-range camera for video and vlogging, whether DSLR or mirrorless. With the launch of each new DSLR though, I do wonder if it will be the last in its series. There's typically 3 years between double-digit EOS DSLRs, so will there be a market for an upgrade to the 90D in 2022? And with a 100D already in the Canon catalogue, what would they call it? But for now, the upgrades across the board allow the 90D and DSLRs to remain relevant and compelling, and don't forget that huge EF lens catalogue with loads of models available second-hand at decent prices. So I reckon the 90D will be a successful camera for Canon, and I really look forward to fully testing it in my final review. Right, that's it for this first looks video. Let me know what you think of the EOS 90D in the comments and whether it's a worthy upgrade to the 80D and a compelling rival to mirrorless cameras. As always, if you find my reviews useful, please subscribe to my channel, and if you really like what I do, you can treat me to a coffee or treat yourself to my in-camera book or a Camera Labs t-shirt. There's links to all of this as well as checking prices on the 90D in the description and pinned comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.